Hi guys, I'm recording again. I actually recorded yesterday, but I just find it not appropriate to post. It's lacking something. I'm not satisfied with it actually. So I have the recording, but I think I'm not gonna post it. Sorry guys. It was about the first promise I've had on one of my previous episodes. It's about the concept of falling out of love. I think I have mentioned that on my first ever episode about the partnership, the strategic partnership. I think I'm gonna check on that again. But yeah, I posted a short though, so just a short clip from the recording yesterday. I think I'm not gonna post that one, but I'm gonna retake it, guys. Okay. So right now, we're not gonna talk about the concept, but I'm gonna talk about the second one, the one that I mentioned last time, just the most recent one. It's about being a leader and having this type of personality. So how is it to be a leader and to be an INFJ at the same time? Whoever is an INFJ there and been in my position will understand. It is certainly very challenging. It's hard. It's the thing. What you can't really get angry with people. That's one of my struggles. It's really hard for me to get angry. And for so long, I've tried to understand myself on that area, because it messed up a lot of the opportunities that I've had to contain, to lead in general. As I mentioned last time, my turning point as a leader was during my teenage years. I was 16 years old, so I was an elected official in our barangay. So it's a big responsibility. If you think about it, it's a big responsibility. So I was a youth leader for 3 years. As far as I remember, that wasn't my decision. Okay, I don't want to be in the spotlight. I never wanted to be in the spotlight. I was persuaded, of course. I can't remember who, but probably my parents. I'm not blaming them though. It was life-changing, those 3 years. But yeah, I've had that kind of responsibility already at that age, and I sucked. Long story short, I sucked. Still, those times that I had all the opportunities to make a change, I wasn't able to utilize, and it still haunts me till now. Because I was very passive. There are a lot of times that it's just, I feel like it was a wasted opportunity, and it was just, I wanted to say regrets, but I don't want to have regrets. It's like, of course I messed up. Of course I sucked before that time. I just, those are missed opportunities. But at the same time, it's a learning process for me. I mean, you know, usually I learn from something that induces extreme strong emotions from me, so that elicits learning from me. Yeah, I have to go through something first to learn. Yeah, so yeah, would I say it's fulfilling? I think so. Yeah, I've been through a lot of, for those 3 years, been through a lot of leadership seminars and trainings. You know, it's part of the service, and I think that was, I mean, that was meant to happen. I mean, it prepared me. It prepared me for something bigger. I mean, right now, whether I like it or not, because of my degree, because of the career I've chosen, I have to be a leader. I have to lead people. So as you know, I started the business just recently, but I've already been in another business years ago, and it's still ongoing now. So I have to handle people at the site. I have to manage. You know, you know, if you ask me right now what my forte is, I would say people management. That's really a far cry from what I have experienced. You know, during my teenage years, let's say, I felt hopeless. So it just amazes me in ways that I never thought. It's like during those times I'm cursing myself and telling myself I'm never gonna do this again, because it's really hard for me to assert myself. I'm at a certain time. It's like, and coupled with me being very empathetic and compassionate, and I don't have the capacity to get angry. And I figured that out. I mean, those times I really did not know why. I keep on trying to understand myself, and I'm in my self-discovery phase. And yeah, I just recently discovered my personality type. You know, just 2 months ago. Yeah, that was just 2 months ago, and actually, I already know 2 months ago, but then it did not sink into me what that means. It's like, okay, so I'm INFJ, so what? So I never really cared to read those things about it. And then I have this, I was listening to this video. Okay, I'm talking now about how I discovered myself. Like, very enlightening discovery. So I was listening to this video, as I usually do. So I've been listening to these kinds of videos for more than a year already. You know, these are my form of relaxation and discovery. Even before I knew the personality. So I was listening to Jung, you know, it's Jung. I also did not know that he has the connection with the, you know, the MBTI personality theory. So I was listening to this video, and there was like this turn, the introverted intuitive, and he's just, you know, I keep on listening to these things because it really resonated with me, and I feel understood, and I feel like not an alien every time I listen to these things. So there was a mention of those just two words, and I'm like, okay, wait. I was feeling ecstatic. My heart wanted to burst out of my chest. I was so excited. I'm like, okay, wait. I think I've seen this thing before. I'm trying to figure out where. And then yeah, I brought up that result from the exam, and I was like, okay, INFJ. Okay, INFJ. So it says introverted intuition. I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. It's not like the same word. So I'm like, okay, wait. So I tried searching the intuition, and it's just pouring of these ideas and realization that yeah, they're actually the same. And you know, knowing that I've been listening to this kinds of thing for a long time already, and I just discovered this personality type, and it all just come crashing down. You know, it's like, you know, the giggly feeling that you're so excited, you're just jumping, and you're just it's just the happy feeling that I know. It's like maybe because I've been trying to understand myself for so long, and I've been trying to you know, trying to fit in. I've been trying to figure out those things that people tell me that just you know, if people call you weird, people call you fake, and those kinds of things. And that moment, like, I was so ecstatic. I felt so relieved, and I never felt any better that time. I'm emotional because I still remember that feeling. So I connected the dots. You know, it made me travel to my distant childhood memories, and things just clicked. So yeah, your question, what's the relation to this? The leadership thing. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I have a hard time getting angry. One reason why it's hard for me to get angry is because if I get angry, I upset the people I'm angry with. I'm gonna get upset as well, of course, because I just absorb those energies around me. I don't want to get upset. I'm already angry, and I'm gonna get upset. So that's one reason why. Another thing is that I realized during my childhood, I suppress myself. I suppress my emotion. I don't really express it that much. Maybe because I don't feel safe expressing it. And of course, you know, you can. I'm not saying it's my parents' fault. I'm not blaming anybody here, you know, about this realization of mine. It's my. I'm doing my shadow work. I'm still on it. I think it's never gonna end. I'm open to discovering myself in those ways, and I still have a lot of shadows. I admit that. Our parents are imperfect, and in ways they're just doing what they think is right. And the thing is, most of the times our definitions of right and wrong is different. Are different. Every one of us has different definitions of that. And yeah, most probably those traits, those tendencies that they've shown us during our childhood days are things that was passed to them as well, unknowingly, by the previous generations before them. And yeah, it's just my experience and how I knew that I've had this hard time expressing myself. And my they haven't seen me cry. My parents haven't seen me cry. I just usually just bottle it up. I just alone in my room. That's just how I discovered that's just really how I process my emotions. So yeah, that's one reason why it's so hard for me to get angry. And another is because I just know that people do things because they have reasons for that. Even if they don't know the reason for them messing things up, there is a reason behind those things, behind those wrongdoings. Or that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, if that person knows why he or she did that, then okay, right? It's like that's a choice. But then what if those people doesn't know their motivations for doing those things? And back to what I said, we all have a definition of right and wrong. So what if what they did was deemed right for them, and it's not really right for others? And because their wirings is that I did that because I think that's right. It's the contradictions and things. It's like, I try to put my feet on their shoes. That's the thing about me. And it's just, I feel kind of pity, and I feel sad for them. I don't feel angry, I feel sad for them. That's one reason why it's so hard for me to get angry. Yeah, unfortunately. So can you imagine a leader not getting angry? Jeez. And as one more thing, because in my profession, it's a male dominated profession. So the struggle of being a female, a woman, and you're struggling to find that balance, to get along, at the same time to stay respected, of course, because as a leader, that's a need, that's a necessity. So yeah, it's just hard. Okay, so what I found effective to do, because I really can't get angry. It's hard for me to be triggered, to be angry. I tried, I tried thinking to be angry, but it just doesn't work. It did not work. I mean, I felt weird. It's just weird. So what was effective for me, I discovered, is I talk to the people involved. I try to isolate them as much as possible. I'll talk to them. Also, if there's a leader, I mean, well, on my profession, my subordinates will have the hierarchy. There's a hierarchy. So if there's someone that has done something that's not right, and that person has someone holding him or someone handling him, I will tend to talk to the handler, the one that's responsible for that person. I'm gonna talk to them. I'm gonna talk to him, and then I'm going to question him tirelessly. That's my approach. I'm going to question. I'm going to ask a lot of questions, and just to get to the bottom of what happened, of course, reasonably. And I'm going to give, after that, after knowing the bottom of everything, what went wrong, I'm going to give recommendations, and I'm going to tell the person the should-haves and would-haves, and then I'm going to give recommendations and what things should be done next time. So yeah, and also I don't micromanage people. I had that tendency before. The one that I told you, the one before my teenage leadership opportunity. So yeah, I micromanaged that. That really did not go well. So I don't micromanage people. I let them do what they do. I give them autonomy and guide them when necessary. And another thing, I'm not like the person who will doubt a person. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt, and as long as you don't tell me you don't know something, I'm gonna assume that you don't know them, that don't know those things. Excuse me. So that's one thing as well. But I've learned to balance that. I cannot really do that, especially at high stake projects and activities, because I have to I have to be efficient. I have to have my team be efficient. So you really have to ask them. You really have to do trade tests. That's the first thing. So you know you're hiring, and you have a reliable team, a reliable person that's going to join your team. So I've learned to transcend that as well. It's like, it's not really wrong to doubt people, especially if your project is an important one. It's not really bad. It's actually, sometimes it's helpful, because some people just have a hard time telling you they don't know things as well. It's like, I'm trying to put my feet on those people's shoes, and yeah, I've had a hard time doing that. I mean, who wanted to admit their weakness? So yeah, that's one way to reframe that mindset. That's one way I reframe my mindset as well, on just trusting everybody. I've learned it the hard way. So believe me, it's really healthy to just approach and give a little doubt sometimes. So I'm trying to think if I missed something else. I was focused on, you know, not getting angry, because that's one of my struggles, really. I've struggled a lot with that. And oh yeah, and yeah, the thing that, you know, just trusting everybody. And yeah, it's really a recipe for disappointment. It is. If I missed anything else, I mean, if you have questions, guys, I mean, we can discuss it on the comment section if you have questions. If I missed something, I'm really emotionally charged right now. I'm actually overwhelmed. I feel overwhelmed right now, and I was like, come on, yeah, I need to take a break. I need to talk things out before I continue work, because it's just bubbling inside, and I have to let it out. So this is my way now. This is my way now of expressing myself, and it will be really nice if I can have conversations with you guys. I mean, if you have the same dilemma, if you're going through the same thing right now, even though if you're not an INFJ, or if you're an INFJ and you're not a leader, everybody, if you wanted to converse, you can, you know, if you wanted to ask anything regarding the topic that we discuss right now, you can just comment, and we can talk there. That's all for now. Next time I'm gonna retake about the concept of falling out of love, and the shadow work, and the integration, so that you can love wholly and not from a need. So see you guys next time.